Peace and blessings. Welcome back to Reborning Kate. We have to come up with another name because we are making this kit into a boy. So we do have to come up with another name rather than saying Kate. Um, we are going to add some highlights to the face. I like to use a yellow to get that color. That's what I've been doing with my other dolls to get that brightness in the middle of the face. So we're going to start just a little bit on the nose. It's kind of like if you were doing makeup. Where would the highlights, where would the sun touch you? Where would the highlights be? The middle of your face, right? So that's where we are putting this highlight to the middle of the face. I don't want it to go too fast. I don't want it to be too yellow either because I don't want my baby to look jaundice. So we have to just kind of get that happy medium in between. But I do love that beautiful, beautiful highlight that it gives to the face, that sun-kissed look. I absolutely love it. And so as you can see, this is where I have placed it. Now I want to pounce it out just a little bit because we don't want it running anywhere. We would like to just have that highlight there. And what we will do is we will do maybe another coat of the highlight so that we will have that brightness, and then we will go over it with a color in the brown family just to give that extra, that skin tone color that we're seeking. So kind of hard to tell, but it is there. You maybe can see a little bit of it. So I want to pounce that out quite nicely. That's going to be in the face area. And I don't think I'm going to put any more yellow on the face here because it does have to dry before we can place any more. Let's see, I think I want to put just a tad bit in a little inner corner of the eyes. Just a little bit, not much, just a little. We want to make sure we have the nose with that highlight color. Okay, awesome. Awesome. The thing about it is with the painting, everything is subtle. Everything is subtle, and then we build up little by little, and then you get that beautiful blend of colors and gradients. So I'm pretty pleased with the color that we have now. What I will do now is go in with another of the brown tone color. We will go ahead and we will do that with the arm. We'll start first with the arm, and then we will go with the legs, and by then we can go back over the face a little bit. So we're going to take this lovely um, brown color that we have. It's like a nutmeg color, the one that I said that looks like hot cocoa. So I always double checking my brushes with clean them out with the distilled water in between. And this is all the same day. Part one, part two, part three are all in the same day. Uh, I'm just having so much fun. Um, so we may be able to get this layer in. Now we're going to do everything. However, we are not going to do the palm of the hands. Just I don't think we're going to do the hands. We're going to I mixed it up. So we are going to do the back of the hand, and I'm going to take a smaller brush and do the fingers so that I can make sure that I get all of the details of the fingers. Um, I may go over the palm. I may. I'm not sure right now. I have to kind of think about it and see what I'm kind of like what I'm working with, because I'm slowly building the color up. Now you may have noticed that I am not going to the edge of the fingers because that portion will be a bit lighter. Um, that portion of the fingers. So we don't want to go over it and cause that to be darker than we would like it to be. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pounce. Where is mine? I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pounce. Like I said, I like to kind of pounce around in a circle so that we don't have any harsh lines in any way. Kind of can pounce, pounce, pounce. Pat it off so that there's no excess. Getting rid of all of the excess. And what I like to do is kind of go around just a little bit where we left that perimeter, that border. Now we're going to take the smaller brush so that we can get into onto the fingers nicely. Okay, so I'm going to use a smaller brush, and I want to get those fingers. And remember that the lateral part of the fingers does not have as much coloring. So this is why I want to use the smaller brush to kind of make sure that we get that coloring to be nicely faded. I'm wondering if the creasing color that I used initially, if that's going to be the right color, because I'm looking and it seems to be a little bit redder um, than I would like. But we'll see. We're going to keep going. Going to keep going, keep going. So now I'm going to pounce, pounce. Where's my? I'm going to pounce a little bit. Kind of pounce around. I'm using a smaller part of the sponge. Don't want any sharp lines where we're trying to create that border. So we kind of go a little bit, I like to kind of go a little bit around. You can see we're getting some color. If you see the flange, I don't know if you can see the flange and the arm. Trying to see. Well, you can see a little bit this way. Yeah, you can see a little bit. And you can see a little bit of the veins, not much, but you can see a little bit of the veins. So we're going to go ahead with the other hand as well. Um, Please leave me some feedback. Let me know if the videos are interesting, beneficial, if they're too slow, if you want to see more details of the painting, or what it is that you would like. I know when I'm watching videos, I like to see pretty much absolutely everything. I do absolutely just about everything. But I know, everybody might not like that, but that's something that I like. However, you're coming to the channel, so I would like to be able to create content that is appealing to you, um, because I'm making things that I like, um, and I would like to also make things that my viewers enjoy seeing as well. So that's why I would like for you to not only like, but comment and share, and most definitely subscribe. Gonna pass out a little bit here. And what I like to do, like I said, is when I'm pouncing around the borders of the fingers, I like to kind of blend it around so that it's not a sharp corner. No sharp. Now we're going to go ahead with a larger brush to cover a little bit more surface, because we're just kind of going over the arm, deepening up some of the color, just deepening it up a little bit. And then we're going to go in with a deeper color to really begin getting that more of a deep, rich color. I think I want this baby to have a little bit more of a deeper complexion, but we're going to build up slowly, because we want everything to be nicely blended, and we want. So far so good. I think so far so good. I know I do build up very slowly, because I'm cautious. I'm being very cautious. I'm very cautious. I'm very cautious. So now we will go with the foot here. We're gonna use the little bit smaller brush so we can get into these toes. And we don't want any pooling. And we remember the border of the toes should have, there should be a border. Now the toes that are all together, there's not really a border in that same way. But the ones that are like the pinky toe and the great toe, the big toe, those will have some border to them. And we kind of follow a little bit of the curve of the foot. So I kind of go like this. I kind of go around like this. So then I'm following it and I pat around and yeah, helps make sure that there's no pulling. You don't want any pulling in our creases or anywhere at all for that matter. Okay, now we're going to go in the lateral part of the foot here because we did the toe, but we didn't do the lateral part. And we want to make sure that we do that so that we have that nice gradient. Now what we do is we'll take the larger brush and then we're going to go ahead and paint the rest of the leg. We don't want any pulling in the creases. We want the colors to blend nicely. I guess I keep saying the same thing over and over again. However, it's important. So I have been in love with dolls since I was a little girl, as possibly many of us. I always liked the life size dolls that were maybe the size of a 9-month-old or a newborn baby. And my parents were able to get me those types of dolls that I liked. I never was really into Barbie type dolls. I mean, I admire them, but um, they didn't really interest me. I like the life size ones where, um, I would have my mother go into the store and buy clothes, real baby clothes for my doll. I would go with her and to have her do that for me. And my father, he thought that was the funniest thing. So, and as I got older, um, I stopped with the dolls. But I always had a love. And then maybe about 10 years ago, I started again collecting dolls. And I always wanted to paint them. Um, However, there were so many things that were going on. I did not have the opportunity. I didn't have the time to paint any myself. So now, these years later, I have the time and I'm enjoying it. So that's something that I'm really grateful for. I'm really grateful for that. Now we are on the second leg. And what am I gonna do? I'm gonna do the leg part first. Usually I like to start with the hands or the feet first so that, I can kind of have something to really to hold. And however, I'm gonna start with the leg and then I'm gonna go ahead and focus on the toes because this foot, there's some separation in the toes that I want to be able to focus on. So I want to be able to. I don't want my brush to be too wet because then that can contribute to pooling or possibly running. You don't want any of that. So just want to make sure that all of it is covered. And I'm going to go ahead and pounce. Pounce, pounce. Okay, and then I have to make sure that I go over the foot because remember I didn't do the foot. We're going to take the small brush, mix up our paint again, and now we're going to go ahead with the toes. I don't know if you can see here. I think you can see. And I'm following the curve of the toe and the foot so that we can have that nice blend going in between the toes here. But remember the border of the toe, we want to have some less coloring there. So that's something that I want to make sure I focus on and getting the border, the lateral part of the foot here and the top of the foot. I know I could cover more territory if I was to use the larger brush. However, I find that I have a little bit more control over what I'm doing when I do it this way with the smaller brushes. Maybe it does take longer, but it's okay. I don't mind. I don't mind. I I like that. I had an interesting conversation the other day, and this person that I know had fallen in love with the very first doll. Was like, wow, the baby looks so real and everything. And then they saw the second doll and they said, oh, I'm worried about you. I said, why are you worried about me? Because that's just not normal. I said, what's not normal? I said, I'm an artist. What's the problem? Yeah, but I said, yeah, but what? I said, do you know anything about reborns and you know so she said no. So then I used that as a teaching moment to explain to her, to enlighten her what reborns are, the origin of them, and that it is a beautiful hobby. It takes skill to be able to create the dolls, the sculptors who sculpt them, and I just went into all aspects. Being able to root the hair and to get the realism. And after doing all of that, she then said, "Wow, I didn't know." I said, "Right, there are a lot of things that we may not have heard of or aware of, but it doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with it. It just means that you don't know what it is. But if someone explains it to you, and of course, I encouraged her to go Google reborns, just Google it. So she could have a little bit more of an idea, you know, of what reborns, you know, what reborns are all about. The artistry, the enjoyment, the collection of it. It's so funny. People can understand um, someone collecting figurines or Legos or, different things like that, or dressing up like um, Star Trek and, different things and going to conferences and, things of that nature. And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. People have different interests, you know. It just amazes me that people, if they see you with a doll, an art doll, they look at you as though there may be something wrong with you. And, but then when I go ahead and I explain to people the artistry, the skill, what goes into it, and, the skilled people that, you know, mold, sculpt these creations, and, it's a lot involved, those who go ahead and have businesses where, you know, doing all aspects of reborning, the different things that we need to be able to create these beautiful art dolls. You know, it's amazing that people tend to think that if someone has these dolls or paints these dolls, that had to have been something that happened traumatic, that, possibly, you're unable to conceive, or you had miscarriages, or you had a child that, unfortunately, passed away, or something like that. And yes, those are some reasons that some people who have reborns gravitate toward them, but that's a small portion. Many people just enjoy dolls, just the love of dolls. People collect a lot of things. People collect cards. People, do needlepoint. People crochet. People, so why is it that when people have those types of hobbies, it's not a big deal? People aren't thinking that there's something quote unquote wrong with you. But if you are doing, creating reborns, or, you enjoy role play with reborns, that there's something wrong with you. Um, when you see people that are very much into sports, watching them and going to the games and things, that's a hobby. That's a hobby, but you don't see people thinking like, oh, there's something wrong with them. Um, but, I think, there has to be some education, you know, for people to understand. This is why I'll go out with my dolls places and people, and it's a way to start a conversation. It's a way to start, conversations where people say, "Oh wow, I thought it was a baby," or what have you. And so it's just interesting. You know, what are some of the conversations or critiques that people have made where you're concerned, if you are a collector, or if you're an artist, and or both? I know some people that say that their family members look at them like they're crazy, or tease them, or think something's the matter with them. And it's just very odd that people would think that. I think it's very odd. I think that there's a little bit of judgment with, for the reborn community, people who don't know. I think maybe because it's predominantly a hobby, with women, and we're, oftentimes people, have so much to say. I guess it's kind of like bullying. they say negative things. Some people, not all, but some do. I'm going to take a little bit of eyelid. It's like an eyelid purple color. Although on here it looks like it's blue, but it's not. It's a purple color. And I'm just going to go across the eyelids just a little bit, you know, and even follow what appears to be the curve of the eyeball. And to go in with that. And just pounce that out. Just pounce that out a little bit. And gonna put just a little bit also in the nose. Remember, every color we also put a bit in the nose. I know for this lovely one, Lillian, what I did was I started her before I really did anything. I went into her nose with a dark color. So she has a very lovely shadow in her nose that I like very much. I don't know if you can see a little bit. She has a very nice shadow. I meant to do that with this doll, but I forgot. So it's okay. What I may do is I may go ahead in with a little bit of the dark color as well. What I like also is to have a little bit of that color, the skin color, kind of on the base of the nose as well. We pounce everything. We pounce, pounce, pounce everything. Now this eyelid purple, we will probably do another one coat on the eyelid purple. We'll probably do one coat more of that because we just want like a little bit of a little tinge of color like that. We just have to see. I know I may do things a little bit different maybe than other artists do. Again, I'm self-taught and I just kind of do things as I feel or I'm led to do it. I'm going to go back around the nose to also add a little bit more of that shading, that coloring around the nose. Pounce, pounce it out. Get a little bit of color where we don't want it. So we just get a little bit of color. That's why I like to use small brushes. And I pounced with something that was a little bit larger than what I normally would use, but it's okay. Easily rectified, not a problem. You have to figure out what tools work for you and what maybe doesn't. I like using small tools, small brushes to get in the corners, and I have a lot of brushes. I just don't have them in front or here on the camera, but I have a lot of brushes. But these are the ones that I like using. I find that they work well with what it is that I'm trying to achieve. Let me use this brush to pounce. Yeah, use this brush to pounce. Then I'm going to go in the nose again. Let's see. That other color may not be all the way dry. Let's see. Go in there a little bit. Great. Okay, I like how that's looking. We're going to go over the full trim just a little bit. Not much. Just a tad bit. just a bit. Remember we did this with the Prismacolor pencil. So we are just going around it. And we have to begin to start thinking about what are we going to do with the coloring are we going to have with the lips. Right now, I'm just kind of doing the separation again of the upper and the lower lip, and pouncing that out, pouncing that out, and doing a little bit of shading in the corner because that's also going to create some depth. There is a little space under the chin, which is between under the chin and below the lower lip. There's some coloring that we want to make sure that we can really get in there to show some of that shadowing. For me, I don't like to put a dark line on the baby's face like here, like from the nose down like that. It's not something that I like. So I don't do it. I just kind of do some of the highlighting or the shading that you see that I am doing. That's the great thing about when you are creating, you do what it is that you like. You can admire what other people like, and then you might do things similar, or you might do something totally different, and that's okay. So now we want to think about where the lips are, how they are made, how they are sculpted. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my brush and kind of tap it, just kind of make tappings to get a little bit of the outline of the lip, just a little bit, and then we'll go ahead and we'll blend it out. Okay, and the other thing also is there's a little bit of a shadowing that would be a little bit above the lip line. At the moment, it may look as though I've overlined the lips, but that's not what it's going to ultimately look like. I'm just giving that little bit of a shadow there. And the lower lip, on this kit, a little hard to see exactly how to do this lower lip, the bottom lip. We're gonna get it together. And there's a little bit of a, like a little indent. So we want to make sure that we're able to highlight that too. To give that. And for this baby, the baby has what some would make into a milk blister, or just actually, I like to just make it a little bit of a highlight on the lip. I don't necessarily do the milk blister. That's not something that I have perfected as of yet.
Holy Quran 30 and 30.
Wow, my alarm is going off. I didn't realize that I was up quite this late. Hmm. I usually have I set my alarm to ring a certain amount of times. Or, I should say, I set the alarm for a certain amount of minutes so that I actually get up and move every, 30 minutes or so that I'm not, you know, sitting too long in one spot because um, when you're painting like this and enjoying what you're doing, you can get so engrossed in what you're doing and forget to move, to forget to get up. And that's not good for anyone's health. Definitely not good for mine. So I did a little something with the lips. I don't know. I don't know if you can see any difference. I think you maybe can see some of the blue, some of the different color with the eyes. Like now you can kind of see some shape coming to the eyes, even though they're closed, and you can kind of see a little bit of the nose, under the nose, how it's coming, how it's coming to life a little bit. Um, so yeah. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna let this dry a bit and go ahead. We don't want to put too many layers on before we start. We don't want to do that because we don't want to get a muddy look because the paint hasn't dried. So because the paint can dry almost in minutes, um, and but it takes a while to fully cure. 24 to 72 hours for the paint to fully cure. Even though it is air dry paint, it may feel dry to the touch, or you can continue doing some painting up to maybe 8 layers, depending on how thin or thick they are. Um, and, but you want to make sure that you're allowing everything to dry enough so that it doesn't become muddy. No one wants that. Okay, so remember I said that I used the Prismacolor to do the creases, and I thought it might be too red. Well, I still think it's too red. So I'm going across over it with this brown color, and to kind of see if I can get it to look more of like what I would like. Because I don't know if you can see that it's quite red. So I'm kind of going around to try to um, make that red, cover it with the brown. Because it doesn't look bad. It's just not the color that I would like the crease to be. So I'm going to go over it. Hands, the back of the hands or the back of the fingers, it's not so bad because we are going to deepen the skin tone. It's just that the palm of the hands, let's see if I can I don't know if I can get it to see where it's a little bit right. Oh, there. Okay, it's redder than I would like it to be. So what I'm doing is I'm trying to go over, although I know if I were to put some green, that would, neutralize the red. However, I don't know, that might would interfere with the other color that I desire on the palm of the hand. So um, I'm just going to go ahead and just brown and just hope that the brown will cover, will begin to blend over and give me the color, a nice crease color. You know, that's what I'm hoping will happen because I do like the palm of the hand and, you know, the underside of the fingers to be, the creasing to be a little bit pale. Well, I shouldn't say pale, but not this red. It doesn't look bad. It's just not the color that I wanted. And what I did was when I was doing the creasing with the pencil, I then went over the other the other limbs with that what is it, chestnut brown. So that gave me more of the color that I want. But this is the first hand that I did with the Prismacolor. So no, I'll work on it. I'll work on it. I will definitely work on it, and it will be just fine. Just fine. So this is the other hand, which also is a little red, which is okay, not too bad. But I am going to go over the creases with the brown. Pounce that, pounce that. Yeah, this hand, I went a little bit lighter with the Prismacolors, so I didn't press as hard, so it's not as deep. The coloring, the red isn't quite as deep. So because the crease, you really shouldn't see it too heavy, too deep, too. Well, I don't want to see it too pronounced. So I'm just kind of going over it. Um, like I said, because I don't care to try to neutralize it, because I don't want to have the palm of the hand turn, a different color. Color I definitely don't want. I'm just kind of going over some of the creases that might have more, more of a red than I would like. So that's the thing. It's a learning process. Learning process, learning curve here. I'm self-taught. I've only watched some videos on YouTube. I mean, I've watched quite a few. I mean, quite a few over and over and over again and things like that. But it's nothing like when you do it yourself, you know. So, so I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying it. I definitely am enjoying. So again, here we are with a long video. That was not my intention to have a long video. Oh wow. But it is another long video. So let's see. I am going to let's see. Okay. Um yeah, so I am going to take a look at this leg. These creases are just fine. Yeah, they're not too deep. They're not too red. Because at that point, when I got to the legs, I changed the Prismacolor to that chestnut brown as opposed to whatever the other brown, it had a little bit too much red undertone to it. So, so I corrected that. I see something with the toe here that I'm not okay. That I'm just gonna have to correct it. Um, yeah, there we go. There we go. Perfect. Perfect. We're gonna do one more shade of the yellow. Let's see if you can see a little bit of the yellow highlight. I'm just gonna go over almost like the T-zone of the baby's head, forehead, down the middle of the nose, the bridge of the nose, the middle of the nose, the chin, almost the whole portion of the chin. We're gonna go around the cheeks, because these are all areas that would be highlighted. The sun would have highlighted these areas. So that's what we want to do. We want to mimic that as much as we can, that portion with our babies, especially melanated babies. You'll see that a little bit of a highlight to the middle of the face, and then there may be a little bit of a darker coloring around the border, and we're going to definitely mimic that as well. So, as you can see, a little bit of that with our Lillian, and definitely also with our sonnet. They both have that bit of a golden highlight in. Now, this baby is going to have a deeper skin tone, so not certain. You know, I don't want to have too light because I don't want there to be a stark contrast in the coloring. Because the thing is, when you are trying to blend the shades of color, you need maybe 3 or 4 so that you can have that gradient coloring. See, right now, the mid face has that gold, has that golden color, that sun-kissed color. And what I'm going to do when I put some more of the, when I go over with some more of the skin tone, you'll then see a little bit more, you'll see a little bit more variation. Gonna go a little bit around, a little bit more around the cheeks, further out. Yeah, it's the mid face that we are doing. Then we'll go ahead and we pounce. Everything is about highlights and um, shadows to get that look of realism. So yeah, I'm pleased with how I think you can see some of the color in the mid face versus on the sides. I think you can see some of that subtle difference. And we see a little bit of what we've done on the head, some of the depth coloring, some of the veining. On the scalp, sometimes I can go a little bit deeper with the veins because there's going to be hair as opposed to very deep or prominent anywhere else on the face or the limbs. But yeah, I think you can see that beautiful, beautiful highlight in there. That's gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. I love it. I think we are on the right track. I think we are. I think we are. I know I said to you about the mid face, so I want to kind of see if I can show you Lillian, her face with that golden kind of highlight in there. Can you see? She's upside down, but let's see. Oh, let me close my paint. I don't want to get her hair in the paint. Okay, so you may be able to see that it's kind of hard, but you can see the mid face has that golden coloring, and then the outer portion of her face, you can see that it is a little bit darker. Let's see, get her more in the camera. See, I'm trying. I think maybe you can see there. Good. I don't know. You might be able to. But in any event, even though our boy baby that's coming will be a bit darker than Lillian, we do want him to have that mid face with some lightness. So we're starting off with that golden color, and then we're going to deepen it up as we go. So once again, thank you for sharing this space with me, for spending your time with me as we are working on Kate. Help me come up with a name other than Kate, because this baby is going to be a boy. So we can't call the baby. Um, so maybe you can give me a suggestion in the comments of what we can call uh, baby that we are working on now. Once again, thank you again. Please like, comment, subscribe, and share. Turn on your notifications so you can be aware of when I upload. We are in this series of painting our melanated AA ethnic reborn. So, yes, we will at some point, as we move forward, we'll do some rooting um, as well, rooting of the eyelashes, the eyebrows, the hair. So we will be moving right along. Enjoy your day. Come back soon.